Moscow is demanding the U S and NATO stop arming Ukraine, saying continuing to do so could lead to, quote, unpredictable consequences.
That's right. In a letter to the Biden administration, the Kremlin also accused the U.S. of openly disregarding laws for transferring weapons to conflict zones. The warning comes as the U.S. sends $800 million worth of military assistance to Eastern Europe. Moscow also wrote in its letter that NATO's actions are stalling peace negotiations with Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials say Russia's flagship naval vessel in the Black Sea sank after being hit by Ukrainian missiles. But Russian authorities say it sank in a storm while being towed for repairs after an explosion and fire. Overnight in Russia attacked a missile factory in Kyiv, an apparent retaliatory move. The Kremlin also warned it will ramp up attacks on the capital if Ukraine makes any moves on Russian soil.
So joining us now is CBS News foreign correspondent who is in Kyiv, Chris Livesay. Chris, thank you so much for being with us. Can you explain the significance of Russia's flagship warship sinking? This was one of their, major warships in the Black Sea, and what this means for the war moving forward.
Sure. Well, it's a huge blow both to the Russian military and to Russian pride. I mean, let's look down there on the southern coast of Ukraine. The country has been anticipating this amphibious attack for weeks. It's specifically Odessa and that surrounding area. It's a place that Vladimir Putin called out by name in his declaration of war back in February. But now that Ukraine, and let's just assume that these claims are true for a moment here from Ukraine, that it took out the ship with its own missiles. Now that it's done that, well, Russia is going to have to think twice about ever getting close to that coast ever again. In fact, the Pentagon confirms Russia has already removed its remaining ships from its fleet in the Black Sea from within striking distance of those missiles, which we should add are Neptune missiles made right here in Ukraine. That shows that the Ukrainians are capable of stepping up for themselves. They don't necessarily have to depend on shipments of arms from other countries. This is something that Moscow was not expecting at all.
Russia has drawn the line, saying that NATO and the U.S. should stop supplying Ukraine with military aid, saying it could lead to, quote, unpredictable consequences. So are leaders worried about Russia in a retaliatory response? What do they expect could happen?
Sure, Michelle. Well, I mean, they could very well be worried about convoys of arms being attacked by Russia, because most of the weapons that we've seen be so effective here on the ground in Ukraine have come from places like the United States. Those Javelin missiles that can take on Russian tanks, those are those, shoulder-mounted weapons. They're very light arms. Same with the Stingers, which are made to take out aircraft. Those are coming into the country, and those could become a target, those shipments of arms into Ukraine. But if you talk to Ukrainians, when they hear these threats from Russia about consequences from Russia and being unpredictable, their answer is, well, Russia is always unpredictable regardless, whether or not you're bringing in arms or you're not bringing in arms. Keep in mind that Ukraine did nothing to provoke this war to begin with. So if you talk to people like the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, he'll tell you, why not be proactive? If Vladimir Putin and Russia are going to act malignantly, are going to act aggressively regardless, then you may as well help us mobilize to defend ourselves.
Good point. Russia has not been predictable at all in any of these moves. All right, Chris Livesay in Kyiv, thank you so much for that.